spark. It's like you know me in the depths of my heart. We're dreamers. Don't care what
So the story here that the dog and the owner was walking around and found this vase. That's the dog. Discovered 1862. That's him right there. On here. Cool Jeep. We're ready to go. We're ready to ride.
What more popcorn? I think we're taking this on the right here. Spread out. Then we got 15 people.
I don't know why I'm like the right person.
Okay.
You guys ready?
Photography or video, it's all good to go. It's not going to hurt the cave at all. You're welcome to do as much as you'd like. The only thing that is going to hurt the cave is touching. We actually have oils on our skin. It can stunt the growth of anything down there for up to 10 years at a time. Water is the most important thing to growth down there. Water and oil don't mix, right? So, promise, the whole thing feels like a big wet rock. Felt that curiosity at all? You are welcome to come up when we're done. Feel this wall right here? Feels right about the same, all right? It's not going to hurt the wall at all. So, with that, I think we're going to head on down. We're going to hit this hill at a whopping 2.5 miles an hour. So hold on to those, loved ones. And who's ready to see a cave today? Woo! Here's our first one. Like I said, it just feels like a big whack rock. It's not really going to blow your mind, right? Welcome inside the cave officially. So every cave has 3 different light zones, just like an ocean does. So where we just entered from, where all the natural light comes in here, would be known as the entry zone, or the light zone. Pretty straightforward, right? That big old dark area there in front of us, that would be known as the dark zone. Yeah, so I just got real creative, right, to got this part. So the dark zone, the light zone, where these two meet is where we are at. Welcome to the Twilight Zone of the cave. Now, nothing creepy is going to happen here. This is just the point where any animals from the outside seeking food or shelter inside the cave, they usually wouldn't make it any further past the Twilight Zone. When an animal comes in the cave temporarily, they usually want to keep an eye on the outside source of light, the best way out. That does include the bat that makes its way in our cave every now and then. We only get about 30 that live in the area. They're known as the North American tricolor bat, and they get about as big as an adult thumb. They're pretty cute. They're very solitary creatures, though. They don't hang around in big groups like you'd see in most other bats. When they come in the cave, it's usually only during the winter time, and when they do, they head straight for the cracks and crevices along the walls. And like I said, they don't make it much further past the auditorium up here, but today we actually do have one little guy in here making a liar out of me. He's all the way in the back of the cave, about a half mile in. So we'll see him later. He's pretty small, so we'll have to keep an eye out for him.
Wow. Look at that.
they lost? It's that way. The line is that way. They're lost.
Welcome to our auditorium, our largest, most open room you'll see here today. I've got lots of formations going on in here, right? All these formations are here, and our whole cave is here. Excuse me, because we're in a limestone cave. Limestone is a very porous rock. It has lots of little holes, so that makes it very easily eroded away by water and also absorbs water in very easily, just like a sponge. So an ancient river did eventually carve out this entire cave that we're going to see here today, including the riverbed that we're driving on. It's going into the formation of a cave this size and this old for us to even really narrow it down for you. But we do know the average growth rate of this whole cave, and we know that because we know one formation in this whole thing, and I'm going to show that to you up ahead, and we'll talk about everybody's favorite subject, age, right? Any questions before we head on up?
Nope.
Cool. This is something you're not going to see in many other caves around here. This is called a well casing. Pretty exciting stuff, right? So the owners in 1941, the owners of the property above us, about 90 feet above us, up there on the surface, built their house in 1941. And of course you need running water to go with your new house, right? So they needed to drill a well. Knowing there was a cave down here, it wasn't part of their property plan. They got with the owners of the cave at the time. They all did a whole bunch of math and measuring. This took them 2 or 3 days to determine where they stuck that drill bit up there on the surface. They were going to end up with a well about 10 feet on the other side of that wall.
Wow.
Oops, right, yeah. So clearly somebody forgot to carry a 1, and they hit the cave like they meant to exactly not do. So they came down here and they checked it out. They saw that this was out of the way, and for fear of making the damage any worse, ironically, they kept drilling. Now they did find water about 50 feet below us in our lower level. Our ancient river eventually dropped down about 50 feet and gave us a downstairs. We'll talk about that here in a minute. But there's not a reliable source of water down there all year long. And so this was capped off, but we're kind of glad they left it here. Because these little guys up top started growing when this went in. These are some baby cave curtains. They turned 80 years old this year, and they measure just over 3/4 of an inch in diameter. So that math gives us our average growth rate of 1 cubic inch every 100 years. Whoa. A little slow, right? Ocean is that the dark zone of a cave is the only other place on planet Earth where you can experience total natural darkness. So I'm going to turn off all the lights on you. You've got a cell phone screen. Go ahead and turn that off just for now. Any small light at all, we're going to be able to see. And I'll turn the lights on, briefly. It'll be worth it, I promise. If you're scared of the dark, just close your eyes. Looks right about the same. All right, we'll let you know when it's over. So here we go. 3, 2, 1.
Wow.
All right, got a couple of phone screens here.
Light. Turn it on.
Turn it on. I still see it.
Yep. Got a couple of them here. I like being in the dark. All right, so this is the dark zone. We do have a couple of lights going on, but you get the idea here, right? Here we are in the dark zone. Scientists say if we stayed in this complete darkness for 40 days in a row, we would go permanently blind. We'd never be able to adjust to that darkness. Looks quite a bit better, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, especially right there, yeah. I also mentioned our lower level a minute ago. We get one good wide open view into this lower level. That runs about 3 miles underneath us. On average, it's about 18 inches high. Pretty shallow down there. Can't squeeze the Jeep down in there. I wouldn't want to go down there myself anyway. So we're going to talk about how water moves through the cave up ahead. We're also going to talk about the little critters that call our dark zone home. And we may or may not get to see that little bat up ahead. So we'll see.
Yes.
Oh, right, yeah, you're like, oh, yeah.
Everybody's there.
Alright, this is what our lower level looks like through most of the year anyway, just like a dry creek bed. Now during a rainy season, that's March through July, we can actually see water rushing through here. We did take in all the runoff water from a good 12-mile radius around us. All the sinkholes in the area eventually drain off into the system here. This will drain off about a mile from here in a place called Indian Spring. And that spring drains off into the Little Sac River, which most of you probably crossed getting here today. Some of that water does build up on that lower level. Like I said, it runs about 3 miles underneath us. Some places it's a good 18 inches, at its highest it's maybe 3 feet tall. Bat, or the North American tricolor bat, so that's a little easier to say. Yeah, he hasn't moved in a couple of days. I guess he's comfy. He's probably sleeping right now, miraculously, after me coming through here yelling. Civil War's going on. Missouri's uncontested. We've got soldiers from both sides here. We're all actively seeking out our caves. Cave state, right? And they're self-interested in our caves, but we're under martial law at the time as well. This means if the soldier comes in and finds a cave on your property, not only are they going to confiscate that cave, they're probably going to take all the land above it as well. Your house, all your animals. So I don't blame John. We want to keep this place a secret. Why were soldiers so into our caves, though? It wasn't just for the storage and shelter potential, but for something in the cave dirt. They set up a big mining operation when they found a new cave. They line it with hoppers like this and fill those hoppers with cave dirt. Someone would be standing by, pouring water over that dirt. So they'd get a nice muddy sludge from at the bottom here, which they would then take outside, where they'd boil it away. Once all the water had evaporated from that mixture, they were left with a fine crystalline substance in that pot called saltpeter. They'd grind up that saltpeter, mix it up with some sulfur and ash very carefully, and that's how they got gunpowder. Pretty essential, right? 1800s wartime. Well, how were soldiers making gunpowder out of literal dirt? They needed something in that dirt called potassium nitrate. That's the main ingredient of saltpeter, and that is most often found in caves in bat guano. Bat poop, right? Most caves have a large population of bats hang around all year long, leaving behind big old piles of poo. That gets mixed into the soil, and the soldiers would eventually end up with their ingredients for gunpowder. But we've talked about our bats already. When they come in the cave, we don't get very many at a time. And when they are here in larger numbers, only up to 25, right? They head straight for the cracks and crevices. That's where they hang out and they nest there. They also poop there. So as soldiers come in and found our cave at any point, they would have dug this thing to death, looking for something that we don't actually have. Alrighty. Got a bit of a low ceiling here, folks. Watch those heads. This here's what happens when people run their greasy fingers. You see that? Little hand mark. That's not going to grow for about 10 years. Here's a low spot, folks. It's shortly followed by an even lower spot. Watch those heads here. I think I saw a hair hanging off that one last week. You're nice and short.
entrance?
Alright, that's that 18-inch crack on the side of that hill. That's where those girls squeezed in after John and Juno. That was the only way in or out of the cave until the 1950s.
What?
They opened this door up in the 50s to get a grand piano into the auditorium in there. Not just on the stage, but on that big rock up there behind me.
Yeah. The tour ended, you guys. We're back. Square one.